Stop recording video.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to
Stop recording
Legally
video.
Cited. This is Jesse here, and I am back for, as promised, my initial PlayStation 5 kind of hardware review video. Got it up on my TV screen here, and I am going to do a separate video on the PlayStation 5 interface itself. But what I want to do in this video, this will probably be a little bit shorter because there's, not a whole lot to say about the physical console itself and everything. But I want to show you the system itself and the controller. So I've got it hooked up on my table here. And this is the beast itself right here. This thing is ginormous. I mean, look at the fins on this thing. I like the blue glowy light. You got the PlayStation symbol back there. It does come with this little round stand where you can either set it up vertically or horizontally, depending on how you want it. I just set it up horizontally, and I'm not going to take the stand off because it's kind of a pain just to, especially to try to do it on camera. But it slides on, you kind of got these ridges here on the front and the back, and you basically just slide. There's like a little kind of a C, like almost like a C clamp, but like a C looking shape. You slide it under there, and then the round part sits underneath it. The stand itself is kind of, I don't know, it's kind of dumb, it's kind of jank, but the problem is both top and bottom of the PlayStation 5, even if you are setting it down horizontally, the bottom, the base, is not flat. It is kind of bulbous. It's kind of rounded on the bottom. And I think that's just to fit everything in there and for this thing to have a ginormous heat sink so it doesn't overheat. It's got your Ethernet port, your HDMI, your couple of USB ports on the back. I plugged my wireless headset dongle into the back because I wanted the front open for my controller cable. So when I plug it into charge, it's fine. It's right in the front there. On the front, this is the standard PlayStation 5, not the digital edition. And my big TV's in the way. Let me see if I can get over here enough. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, a little bit down there. On the bottom there, you've got your Blu-ray drive. Got your Blu-ray drive down there. And you do have a couple of buttons. You got your power and eject, and that's pretty much it. You've got a USB-C and a regular USB port on the front of the system. And I mean, other than that, like I said, it's just a ginormous console because there's a lot in it. It was easy to, like I said, the first thing you're going to notice when you take this thing out of the box is that it is big. It is kind of weird looking and heavy. I mean, it's a hefty little console we got going here. But once you get it set up, you just set it there and it's good. I will say it's been very quiet. I have played several games on it, sometimes for a few hours at a time. I've heard the fan a little bit, but that's kind of if I'm looking for it. If I'm just not even really paying much attention, I really don't. Like, I almost have to kind of be actively trying to hear the fan. Otherwise, it really hasn't been noticeable at all. PlayStation 4 or 5 games that I've played thus far. So, I mean, there's not really a lot else to say about the system. I mean, it's an interesting look for sure. I kind of wish they would have gone with more of a flat design where, like, I understand maybe a stand when it's vertical, but like why you wouldn't just be able to make it so that you can have a flat bottom and just lay it flat on your table or your entertainment center or your desk is beyond me. But it is what it is. But like I said, I just can't get over how big this thing is. And of course, the digital only version pretty much looks like this, except there's no drive in it. There's no optical drive. But honestly, the more compelling part of this system so far is the DualSense controller. Not the DualShock, the DualSense controller. This thing, you guys, is just cool. You got the white top, you've got the black kind of base. And I learned something the other day from, I think it was a Verge article. There's kind of this rough texture underneath here, which feels good. But I guess if you were to zoom in really, really far, all of these things are little tiny, like PlayStation symbols, your crosses, your square, triangle, circle. They're these tiny, tiny, tiny little shapes that have been kind of beveled into the controller. And it's not just in the controller. There's a little bit on the matte part of the PS5 itself. And they even put it in part of their headset that they made. It's wherever you kind of feel that sort of rough texture. It's rough, but it still feels smooth. So the controller itself is... one thing that I absolutely like about it is that it's bigger. You don't have the cramped feel of the DualShock 4 or any previous DualShock. I really didn't like that, especially when you have the analog sticks are both still on the bottom. They don't offset them like they do on the Xbox controllers. Let me actually put my phone real quick in the tripod, and that way I can try to do a little more hands-free stuff here for you. But I did want to get into and show you the system. So let me shove you in there. There we go. So now I can take both hands and I can hold it and show you. So again, you have like, your hands just feel much better. Like they sit down, even though your left analog stick is low, there's still enough grip here where it feels decent. It feels good. It feels comfortable. My hands don't feel like they kind of cramp up or hurt after a couple hours of gaming. Got your D-pad, got your face buttons as usual. You've got a touchpad, just like you do on the PS5 or PS4, I mean. You have your PlayStation button, and you have a microphone mute on and off button. So you can turn that on and off quickly at will. And then of course you have they call it the options button. I always think of it as the start button. And I like the options button on this better than I did the PS4, because on the PS4, I remember when I was playing The Last of Us, especially, like a lot of games you can just use the face buttons to go in, go back, that kind of a thing. But I remember like the buttons on either side. You have the options button, and on the left side you've got your share button, which I'll talk about in a second. In the PS4, they were a lot more flush against, they were kind of like, in the controller. They weren't raised near as much as they are, and so I kept forgetting about them because you didn't need them that often. But when I wanted to go into the options for something, I'm like, oh yeah, it's up there, and it's just kind of felt flush with the touchpad. So I like these a lot better. It's much easier to find them and feel them tactily. So that's your options button. Your share button on the left, here's where you can set, and under settings you can set the behavior where you tap or hold. You can use it to take screenshots, record video. You can open up, so you can do like broadcasting. I haven't played with any of that stuff yet. But that's kind of your controller. You've got your bumpers and your triggers on the bottom. Now the triggers, here's the cool part about this controller. So this controller, yeah, it's got some new features. It looks, pretty standard. It looks, okay, it's got the touchpad. It's a little different shape, a little bigger. But there's so much tech crammed into this thing. And that's what really is making the PlayStation 5 unique at this point. It's got rumble, but boy, it is not your average rumble. You know, I remember Nintendo made a big deal out of their HD rumble for the Switch, and other than a couple minor things here and there, I haven't really seen many games take advantage of it. I really haven't. But the PS5, man, you go into Astro's Playroom, and I'm going to back up the camera in a little bit here just to try to maybe show you the screen and get the controller close to the phone as well. Maybe you can hear some of it. It doesn't just vibrate. Like, depending on what's happening, there are times where, like, they show these little robots and they go into your controller on the screen. When that happens, it feels like there are little things in there, and you can almost count how many there are. Like, you can feel them as you tilt it around because it's got an accelerometer as well. You can literally feel that there's stuff rattling around in there. When you do like a jetpack or a little rocket thing, you can feel when you hit the trigger, the left side of your controller will vibrate or the right side will vibrate. When you walk over certain, it's so hard to explain. In Astro's Playroom, when you walk over, like let's say sand or metal or wood, when you do that, like the surfaces feel different. Like the metal actually kind of has like a tingy feel to it. Sand is a lot more give. It's really hard to explain, but it's really cool. You have to just kind of experience it to know what I'm talking about. And then I talked about the triggers. You have these adaptive triggers. Like I can hit the triggers and they just go down like, you know, they move in like any other trigger would. But some games, and even pieces of games, and again, I'm using Astro because it's the best example. Sometimes they'll be easy to hit. Sometimes there will be more force. You have to apply more force to even get them to go. Sometimes you'll pull one in just a little bit, and then it'll kind of stop, and then you have to really kind of give that extra push, and it'll click. So the controller, like the triggers themselves, can actually not just range in like intensity or resistance, but like it can be stiff or not. It can be where you have to click it or not. I'm just fascinated to see what other things are going to happen. Now I'm going to go into, we're looking at the TV here. Let's see if I can go back. We're going to do a little guerrilla photography here. I apologize, guys, and me being legally blind, hopefully this will look at least halfway okay for you. Oh, let me grab, I forgot I was doing the other video. All right, I had to turn up the TV volume. Okay. But what I really want you to hear is the controller. We're going to try, I'm going to look through my phone at the TV to make sure we're in focus. But I'm going to go Astro's Playroom. And I'm going to hold the controller near the phone once we get in. So we got the controller, and it just kind of got this subtle vibration. It's still doing it, and you hear it's even got a speaker and a microphone in it. You can use it for voice chat, both input and output, and there's a headphone jack as well, so you can plug a headphone jack or a headphone right into the bottom, right down there, so you can plug that in. And I've done this. Let's continue. The first time I remember feeling the vibration, the first time I remember hearing that, like it was just, or feeling that, I'm like, whoa. It actually kind of stunned me a little bit. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. So let's hit A, launch him out of his controller. And that little woohoo, that was coming out of the controller. So You can kind of hear the TV. I don't know how well you're going to be hear this like on the video, but like when I do the jump, you hear the whoosh and the tap on the controller itself. You hear the whee on the TV, but you hear the whoosh from the controller. If I walk around, that tap tap you're hearing from the controller itself. There I'm walking on kind of this whatever, like like a wooden surface or something probably, or metal. It's not really metal, but if I walk over this metal, you hear it and you have this really distinct feel. It's just so weird. And then if I go over this glass dome, it sounds different and it feels different from the metal. So it's one of those things that's really hard to explain. That's coming out of the controller for the most part. I have the TV down pretty low. I mean, you hear the music on the TV and all that, but let's see. Let's go in. I'll show you the microphone. Actually, I'll turn the microphone on so that it'll work. But if I go into, oh wow, that was cool. Just the vibrations. Let's go into GPU Jungle. And you're hearing the sounds on the TV and on the controller. So we're on a path, and now we got the tall grass. We got some things to break. And you hear the little rustling of the grass on from even the controller and the TV. But when you feel it, like it feels like a hard path. But then when you go over on the grass, it's softer and more like, it's not like a hard tap, tap, tap. It's more of like a, you know, I mean, there's more of like a longer feel to, like a longer, subtler vibration. It's so hard to explain, you guys, but it feels, it's just so cool. This is really interesting, trying to play a game. Ow. Yeah, I totally did that because I wasn't paying attention. So let's respawn and not kill myself. But I know down here there's a microphone mabob that we can... Yeah, eat it. Get out of my way. Okay, we open that up. And that little twirly thing, it's like, okay, you can blow into the controller. And then I can go, you know, just go in here. Smash that, and all of these have the different vibrations. And I know games have done like, oh, different vibration intensities and things like that in the past, sure, but it's nowhere near the way it is on the DualSense. Like, it's really, really tough to explain. You hear the water sloshing, walking in the puddle. And that even feels different than the grass. So, okay, where are we here? I love the robot. I can do a little spin attack. Comes out of the controller again.
Viewfinder, focus unlocked, image.
Hush.
A video game.
I can pull this, and you feel the resistance. And I'll do a video on this game, hopefully direct feed, so you guys can kind of see the game better. But I really, like I said, this is going to be the shorter video. You really want to see the stuff about the dashboard and whatnot. But I wanted you to hear, like, you probably can't hear the vibration of the controller because it is pretty quiet, but you can hear the audio that comes out of it from time to time. Spider-Man didn't really have that a whole lot. Like there was some vibrations, but it wasn't near as comprehensive as Astro here. Couple things about the PlayStation 5 itself, hardware review wise. Like I said, when I initially took it out of the box, I don't know if I didn't wait long enough or if I just screwed something up or whatever. I thought if you waited long enough, the screen reader was supposed to come up and prompt you, hey, if you need speech, go check, like, you know, go check out that, hit a button and then you'll have a screen reader. But it didn't do that for me, so I did the initial setup visually. And like I said, that more than likely was my mistake,
A screen.
not necessarily the thing itself, the console itself. I did have early on, when I got through the initial setup, I connected to Wi-Fi and it worked okay. And it had a system update, it did that fine. It had a controller update, it did that fine. But then, after it came back up, I lost internet. And then I kept having intermittent wireless issues. Sometimes it would connect, sometimes it wouldn't at all. Sometimes it would connect for a very brief period, and then it would crap out. There was just no rhyme or reason, there was no reliability. It just seemed kind of at random. All my other Wi-Fi devices worked fine. I did some troubleshooting on YouTube and Google, just looking up things on the internet. And a lot of people have had similar issues with Wi-Fi. I've heard a few different possible solutions, and the couple that I tried really didn't work. I had some things to do. I really had a bunch of things to do, so I really didn't have a whole lot of time to really troubleshoot it. I needed to get other things done. And so I did find a long enough LAN cable to make it work. And I plugged it in wired, and I haven't had internet problems at all since. So that's one problem that I had. Another weird issue that I had shortly after, it was like the next day after I did that initial setup. I turned my TV on, I hit the PlayStation button on my controller to wake it up and turn the system back on, or wake it up out of sleep. It came on because I heard the screen reader out of the TV, but I didn't hear any, or I didn't see anything. It was a black screen. I'm like, what the heck? So I was navigating by sound, you know, by the screen reader. Thankfully, you know, most people would be like, what the heck? Because they wouldn't hear anything because they don't use a screen reader. But when I plugged it in, or I turned it on, there were no visuals at all. So I putzed around, nothing I did seemed to work. I turned the system off, turned it back on again, and boom, the visuals were back. And thankfully I haven't had a problem since. So I don't know if there was some weird initial, like, I've heard other people with like 4K TVs have had problem. I'm just running a 1080p TV right now. There's no, it's not 4K, there's no HDR, there's no anything like that. So there's not any of these like fancy features in there. But that first time, I don't know if there's just some sort of weird like handshake issue where it just was not finding the right protocol, or it was trying to adjust itself and failed. But ever since then, every time I've turned on the PlayStation or I turned on my TV, and it's worked fine since. But if you do have a weird issue where you don't get any video or something, just try turning your system off, turn it back on again, and then hopefully you'll be fine. If it wouldn't have fixed it, I don't know what I would have done. I probably would have just unplugged the HDMI and plugged it back in and hoped like hell it worked. But that's kind of, those are really the main issues that I've had. The main two I've had is Wi-Fi seems a little sketchy. I've had kind of bad luck with that. But it's probably better that you hook it up wired anyway if you can. especially if you're going to be doing a lot of downloading or multiplayer stuff. So it's probably a good idea to do that. But, I might go back and try to do some Wi-Fi troubleshooting later. But again, I'm just going to mainly rely on wired for now. So I had that issue. One more Wi-Fi issue that I had. One of the things I troubleshoot it, I deleted my wireless network from the PS5, and then I was just going to try to add it again. Well, when I tried that, it didn't come up with a list of available networks to browse from. It only came up with this weird like hotspot thing or enter everything manually. And no matter what I did, I couldn't make the list appear where it would find it. Again, I turned the system off, turned it back on again, and then boom, I went under network settings and it found the list of it found all the wireless networks. And then I was able to add it again. And then I added it, and then it was just, again, really flaky. So, it would connect, it wouldn't connect, it would drop, all those things. And so shortly thereafter, I just decided, okay, I think I've got a Ethernet cord around here somewhere, plug that in. Thankfully it reached my router. So that's how I fixed it. I don't know. I've heard other people complain about the Wi-Fi stuff. Your mileage may vary. I hope you don't have problems with it if you use Wi-Fi, but just know that that could possibly be a thing. Hopefully Sony does issue a firmware update or software update that will address some of these issues. But other than that little HDMI quirk I had that one time and the Wi-Fi, I've been very happy with the PlayStation 5 so far. As you'll see in the next video, the loading times are fantastic with the solid-state hard drives. The dashboard is very responsive, unlike some of the last systems that I've been using. So that's really pretty zippy. The controller's got all kinds of features on it that are cool. Even trying to demo it for you on this video here, it's just one of those things you kind of have to experience a lot of it before you really get it. Kind of like VR in a way, especially with like the haptic feedback, but it is really good. Don't ignore Astro's Playroom, which is a built-in game. Like it already comes installed on the system. Don't ignore it, because not only does it show off the controller, but it is genuinely just a pleasant, fun, it's just a joyous little game to play. It plays well, it looks great, it sounds great. I had a blast. Like I said in another video, I think since Mario, since like Mario Odyssey, I don't think I've had as much fun with, especially with like a platformer like this. It's just a really, really good game. So definitely don't overlook that. But those are some of my initial thoughts of the system. Give you a brief look at that. Give you a brief, like I said, I really wanted to focus on the controller, because other than the gargantuan size of it and a little bit of the layout, I mean, there's not really a lot to say about the system itself. I really wanted to kind of show you the controller and talk about how cool it is. In the next video, I'm going to go through the dashboard, and this will be direct feed on my computer, so it'll look and sound better. I'll show you all the screen reader, the accessibility options, the store, the interface, just everything like that. So stay tuned for that. And then I will also, in a future video, really quickly show you these. These are the Pulse 3D headphones that Sony sells. And I did buy these myself. I did not get this with the system, so I picked these up. These are wireless headphones. I'm gonna do a video review of those for you guys as well. So again, I can't really say the specifics on the project that I worked on for this, but anyone who was involved in this project, and thank you for inviting me to participate in it. And like I said, I did not purchase this PlayStation 5 myself. I got it as a part of a market research project that I did, and I want to thank them for allowing me to keep the system as part of the project. So we'll wrap this review up here. Hope you guys found it helpful. And I know the next video is especially what a lot of people are going to be really interested in, is the accessibility. So stay tuned for that. Like the video if you did. Follow me on Twitter at BGFH79, twitch.tv/illegally-cited, illegally-cited.com, and right here on YouTube. So until next time, chat with you guys again later.
Stop recording video. Button.